My best friend kept a huge secret from me. Chapter 18. We made our way back to the school grounds, Haley and I, enveloped in a silence that felt more comfortable than before. I could sense that she was more at ease with me now, her initially reserved demeanor slowly melting away. As we approached her car, I felt a twinge of disappointment that our time together was coming to an end. Haley's lips curved into a smile, her eyes meeting mine. "Thanks, Chase," she said, her voice softer than usual. I nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. "Yeah, thank you for listening." She mirrored my nod and opened her car door, tossing her bag across to the passenger's seat. As she turned back to face me, I seized the moment, my friendly and persistent nature taking over. "Hey, you wouldn't want to go out with me tomorrow, would you?" "Go out where?" she questioned, leaning her arms atop the door, a small smile playing at her lip. Grinning, I rubbed the back of my neck, my caring side showing through. "I was thinking of showing you around town and stuff. Hit up all the places that you should know." Haley's smile widened, and she nodded, her reserve continuing to fade. "Yeah, I think you'd like that." "Great, that's great. So I'll pick you up at 6, I asked, and she nodded, sliding into her car and starting it up. She waved and drove away, leaving me standing there, filled with an indescribable happiness. Not only had I gotten Haley to finally open up to me, but I had also managed to explain everything and even scored a date with her tomorrow night. The anticipation was already building. Sighing contentedly, I headed to my own car and made my way home. Unsurprisingly, I found Luke waiting for me, his strategic mind already at work. "I want to do something," he said without preamble. "Do what?" "And hello to you." "Too," I answered as I walked through the door. Luke rolled his eyes, his concern for our group's safety evident. "Listen, I know you've sort of been out of it lately because of the whole Haley situation, but now that it's fixed, we need to focus on a new situation. Artemis. She's killing more and more of us, and we don't even know who she is." "Not really. Anyway, we haven't even landed a single blow to her, and she already has us cowering in the corner begging for mercy." I nodded, recognizing the gravity of the situation. All right. So what do you want to do?" "Well, I've sort of been formulating this plan for a while now, and the more I think about it, and the more we learn about Artemis' patterns, the more I think it will actually work," he explained, his proactive nature shining through. Groaning, I sat down in my chair behind my desk, and he took a seat across from me. "Just get on with it, Luke. What's your plan?" He pulled out a map of the territory and laid it out in front of me. There were markings all over it, but mainly concentrated at 3 points. I've been tracking where we've been finding our victims. Now, you can see there are a few odd ones here and there, but a majority of them are found at one of these 3 locations. He gestured to the 3 heavily marked areas on the map. "I think that these are the areas she's comfortable with, the ones she knows well enough to be tough in." As I studied the map, I couldn't help but feel a mix of admiration for Luke's strategic thinking and dread at the thought of confronting the elusive and dangerous Artemis. The main antagonist's presence loomed over us, a constant threat to our safety and the delicate balance we'd been trying to attain. "So what do you plan to do with that information?" I questioned, holding up a finger to me. He smiled. "That's the great part. 9 times out of 10, she kills people in one of these 3 spots. So all we need are wolves stationed at all 3 of these places." I furrowed my brow. "But you said it yourself. She knows these places well enough to beat us, the ones who live on the territory. That's where the rest of the plan comes into play," he explained. "You see, if we have enough wolves in each region, there's no way that we won't find her. As for beating her, we need to drive her out of her comfort zone. We need to corral her, almost, into a trap. Essentially, I want to wait her out to come to one of the 3 locations, and drive her into more wolves." "Is that the whole plan?" I questioned, and he nodded in response. I pursed my lips and leaned back in my chair, taking in the view of the map. I sighed. And what if she just kills all of the wolves who are there waiting for her? We'll have plenty of wolves, so that even when she's engaging 3 wolves, there are 4 charging at her. He responded confidently. I shook my head. So no matter what, people are going to die tonight, if we do go through with this plan of yours. He sighed, hanging his head himself on the desk before looking back up at me. A hard look in his eyes. We sacrifice the few now, to save the many later. If 10 wolves die a night, but we catch her and our hunter problem is solved, then it's worth it. Is it? I intervened. Luke popped down in his chair, shaking his head at me. She's changing you. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐩𝐿, I mean, you never used to be soft. You didn't care about a few lives if it meant eliminating the threat. Clenching my jaw, I exhaled. I like myself better this way. All lives matter, and I don't want to risk anyone's just to catch her. We can think of something else. His eyes brightened and he stood back up. What if we get volunteers? What? I mean, you don't want to risk others' lives in order to catch Artemis. But what if others want to risk their lives to catch her? He claims, if there are enough volunteers, will you go through with this plan? Staring at the map in front of me, chin in my hand, I nodded and looked at my beta, my best friend. If you get the volunteers, well, do it. We'll capture Artemis. Chapter 9, Team 𝐊𝐢. Zipping up my jacket, I holstered my gun and slid my pocket knife in my boot, making sure I was cloaked by the anti-scent spray. I swung my arrow and quiver over my shoulders and they rested between my shoulder blades. As I made my way to walk out of the room, I caught sight of my reflection and paused. The girl in front of me had hair pulled into a high bun and was completely clad in black, mostly leather. She had a few freckles already from the new California sun and her skin was pale in contrast. Her pale pink lips were, for once, loosened in a natural smile. Her eyes were the most spectacular part. They gleamed with anticipation and happiness, something that she had felt since after school, since I talked with Chase, and he had asked me out GH. Why did I even think about him this way so much? He's a disgusting, filthy dog and is nowhere near worth my time. Sighing, I jogged down the stairs and found David sitting at the kitchen table, reading a newspaper. Going out. Yep, I nodded, then walked out of the house through the back door, running to find the cover of the trees. Carefully, I tiptoed around the woods, making sure not to step on crunchy leaves or branches to give me away. I was hyper-aware of how silent I was being, and also how quiet the rest of the woods were. It seemed like there weren't any animals, and I couldn't hear the familiar sounds of the werewolves. Drawing my bow, I kept it at the ready as I continued further into the eerily silent woods. Something felt off, call it a gut feeling or intuition, but something definitely was not right. A rustling of leaves caused me to turn, pulling my bow taut when I found a small rabbit scampering across the forest floor, looking terrified, exhaling and relaxing my muscles in relief. I smiled a little at my jump-in-ness before freezing. Peter 𝐾𝐞𝐿 had to be scared for a reason. Shouldering my bow, I quickly climbed up the oak tree in front of me and drew my bow once more, scanning the area below me. Then, I heard it. A low growl, nearly inaudible. A rough-looking gray wolf came into view and I smirked, holding the string of my bow by my lips. Goodbye, Mr. Werewolf. Releasing my bow, I smiled with admiration and pride as I watched the arrow pierce the wolf's skull, quickly ending its life. Never say I wasn't merciful. Suddenly, though, I heard more growls. At least 6 wolves and realized I was surrounded. I was right. After all, that something was off. Tonight, I was no longer the hunter, but the hunted. Rather, the wolves circled the area, making sure to move more so I cowled and hit them, but still keeping me trapped. Shit, I swore, shouldering my bow, standing on my branch. I looked to my left and found the branch of the tree next to me just within reach and, suddenly, an idea came to me. I would be like a monkey, swinging from tree to tree, Eventually, they'll either lose me or it'll kill all of them. Backing up to the trunk of the tree, I took 2 steps before launching myself into the air, landing perfectly on the other branch. Smirking, I then snaked my way around to the other side of the tree and jumped to the next one, wobbling slightly on it, but landing on the branch nonetheless. I heard the sound of bones breaking, followed by a familiar voice, chest jumping from tree to tree like a damn monkey. So you too. Knock the fucking tree down. Now it was Luke, 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐑𝐞𝐝's best friend, and assumed beta. What a tool. Looking down, 2 large wolves looked up at me from the base of the tree, licking their canines maliciously. They both retreated the same direction and I knew what was coming. Now all I had to do was time it perfectly, picking out my branch on the next tree. I positioned myself and waited. I had to wait for exactly the right moment. Then, 2 growls sounded and I heard them running. Glancing down, I saw they were almost to the tree. Bracing myself, I jumped and grasped onto air as I flew through the air. It seemed like an eternity until my hands found the rough bark of the tree. The branch I was previously on was currently on the ground, along with the rest of that tree. Looking up, I found my hands starting to slip from the branch I now held onto. Swinging my legs up, I straddled the branch and kept quiet as the wolves searched through the wreckage of the fallen tree. Making my way down the tree, I was about 10 feet off the ground when Luke swore, "She's not here. Where the hell did she go?" Pulling my head down even further, I turned my back and went to jump to the next tree over, launching off of a slightly unstable branch. My stomach dropped when I heard the snap, as did my body, straight to the forest floor, letting out an OF as I hit the ground. I heard the growls of all the wolves. Despite the pain I was in, I managed to pull the gun out of my holster and cocked it. Flipping over, I shot the 2 wolves charging at me in the heads, and only managed to stop the 3rd one by shooting it in the upper leg. Luke growled and ran at me, and I aimed my gun at him, pulling the trigger and nothing, absolutely nothing happened. You've gotta be fucking kidding me, I swore to myself, standing up and pulling out my switchblade. I held it in front of me and he slowed as he neared me. It's nice to meet you, Artemis. He spat out my nickname, but it's not. The only nice thing is that you'll be rotting in a cell for the rest of your life, after I have my fun. That is, I held my knife in front of me and he glanced at it with a hint of recognition and paused for a second, just long enough for me to throw and turn and run. He yelled in pain, but I could hear his footsteps coming after me. Well damn, I must have missed his heart. That's a new low for me, running as fast as my human legs could take me. I nearly groaned when I heard the cracking and breaking of bones. He was shifting. I racked my brain for ideas. Yes, I still had my bow, but that didn't do me much good close range with a wolf. I was left with my wit and good looks, I suppose. Looking ahead, I saw I only had a little farther left to go until I got to the road, where I could find a public place to hide and blend in. I went to make another step but fell short when I felt a sharp pain down my left calf. Yelling, I crashed to the ground and rolled over, clutching my leg, my head flying up in the process. Luke shifted back to his human form in the process, and stared at me in shock. Haley, I glared up at him and mocked his earlier words. They'd say it's nice to meet you, but it's not. He gave a sarcastic laugh, an exhale through his nose, and he held up the switchblade. You know, I thought I recognized this. It's from that night at school. Right. The dance. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝 is going to be heartbroken. Artemis is his mate of all people. But he'll get over it. And trust me, when I tell you, you won't be rotting in jail for long. He and I will enjoy taking our turns torturing you until one day your heart gives out. You're sadistic. I spat, struggling to my feet, but nevertheless managing to stand. His face darkened. And you're a murderer. I prefer Hunter. I spat back. Well, I don't think Chase will give a rat's ass about what you prefer when he finds out. He smirked. I smirked back. Chase isn't gonna find out. He furrowed his brows. And why won't he? I pursed my lips in a sort of smile. Because, if you even try, you'll be dead before you can say a single syllable. Got it. Luke scoffed. Your threats aren't very conceivable considering barely standing and out of weapons right now. As he said this, I drew a bow and shot him in both legs, then turned around, but stopped and glanced back. A dark smile on my face. Sure about that. And then I took off running, ignoring the intense burning pain in my leg and the loud howl that was undoubtedly either Luke or Chase or both of them. Shit. 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 This was so not good. Now that Luke knows who I really am, my cover's been blown. The only question left now is, will he listen to me? Chapter 20. We had her in the palm of our hands. Luke literally had her on the ground, and she somehow managed to shoot him in both legs with 2 arrows in one shot. Damn it. I yanked the second arrow out a little too harshly and he hissed. Damn, man. A red switchblade was grasped tightly in his hand, and when he flipped it, it revealed a very silver blade. Is that hers? He nodded before handing it to me. She threw it and just missed my heart. I'm starting to think Chef's not as good as they say she is. Didn't she throw it after she fell out of a tree? I questioned, to which he nodded. Then Chef's better than what they said she is. Looking at the knife in my hands, I couldn't shake the feeling that it looked familiar, but when I couldn't figure it out, I shrugged and pocketed it. Luke stared at me with intensity and I furrowed my brows. What? Nothing. He looked down, and a look of immense focus took over, like something was working through his brain. Whatever. I shook my head. The only good thing to come out of today is the fact that I actually have a date with Haley tomorrow. His head snapped up. Yeah, about that. I don't think you should go. I gave him a look that screamed, what the hell are you talking about, and gave a half smile. Luke, I'm gotta go on a date with my mate. It's not like anything bad is gonna happen. Besides, she's literally perfect, and even after all she knows about me and what I am, she's giving me a chance. Yeah, but what if you don't know everything about her? He asked, shrugging. I sat down. It doesn't matter. Everything about her is perfect. The way her eyes crinkle when she laughs, or the gleam in her eyes when she's happy, or the blush on her cheeks when I compliment her. She's perfect. No matter what. Luke sighed. In just saying that, you don't really know her, so I think that maybe you just shouldn't go on this date and… What the hell, man? I cut him off. For the first time since my parents have died. I finally feel whole again, and now you're trying to ruin it. What the hell is going on? He looked down and sighed, looking back up and placing his hand on my shoulder. Nothing, I'm sorry, man. I just am stressed about the Artemis situation. Go on your date tomorrow. Have fun for once. I smiled and clapped my hand on his shoulder as well. Thanks. He nodded, before getting up and leaving the house, making his way back to his own home. Luke POV. Walking home, I kept analyzing the situation. That boy was whipped. How was I going to tell him that the girl he obviously loves, his mate, is Artemis, the huntress that we all hate with a blinding heat? I had tried showing him the switchblade, hoping he'd make the connection, but no dice. His brain was muddled with his feelings for Haley, the one that he knows, rather than hating her for who she really is. How could I let him go on a date with that evil girl tomorrow night? She could easily kill him there, and take the rest of us down when we're weakened without an alpha. I growled lowly as the thought arose. If I couldn't get him to cancel, maybe I could get her to, as an agreement for me to hold on to her secret. If only for a little while longer. Stopping in my tracks, I spoke to myself. I can't tell him. It would crush him. That left only one answer. He would have to figure it out on his own, and I would do everything to drop subtle clues to help him along the way. I climbed into Chase's car the next morning silently, and he didn't notice, humming along to the radio as we made our way to school with a smile on his face. It hurt to know that our downfall was the only thing that could make him happy. As well, we walked into the building, myself trailing slightly behind him, and followed him up to the girls, 𝐿𝐢 standing right there in sweats and a sweatshirt. Despite the mildly warm day, Chase didn't notice. He hugged her and she smiled up at him, glancing over at me, to which I gave her a cold stare. She seemed to know what it meant and flashed a smug grin for a second before turning back to Chase and smiling. "Ah, shit," Chase suddenly exclaimed. "I forgot I have to talk to Miss Mulligan. I'll see you in first period." "Okay." 𝐿𝐢 nodded. "Yeah, see you there." The two of us were left alone and I glared at her, not able to contain my anger. Finally, I looked around for anyone who'd be looking and grabbed her arm, dragging her roughly into a nearby storage closet. She hissed at me, "Let go, you bastard." "Shut up, 𝐿𝐢. Rolling her eyes, she rubbed her arm and snorted. "Not so tough. Are you? You didn't tell him, even though you swore you would. You wanted him to rip me limb from limb." "Correct. Well, 𝐿𝐢𝐬. That's too bad, because I think he likes my limbs right where they are. Thank you very much." Clenching my jaw, I held my wolf at bay. "Listen, bitch. It'll make you a proposition. It'll keep your repulsive alter ego a secret if you cancel on your date with Chase tonight. I don't want your psychotic ass anywhere near him." She pursed her lips and stepped closer to me. "That's cute. Really? But I'm not canceling. I'd like to learn everything I can from him. And you'll still keep my secret. Because if you don't, I won't kill you. First, I'll slit Chase's throat on our date tonight, in the middle of the public square, and then I'll kill everyone else and keep you alive. Just barely, to feel the mental torture of it all." "Got it. 𝐿𝐢's going to find out." I bit out and she smiled. "I don't doubt that. But you see, he'll only find out when it's too late." With a smirk, she threw the door and walked out of the closet and down the empty hallway, making her way to class, leaving me standing alone with my thoughts. What the hell do I do now? Chapter 21. 𝐿𝐢. Sitting at the lunch table. Chase at me side. I could feel Luke's stare piercing my skull. Looking up over at him, I smiled at him and asked, "Everything okay?" Everyone glanced at him and he dropped the angry expression and laughed it off. "Yeah. Sorry. I was just really deep in thought." Chase gave him a lingering, questioning look before turning back to Lily, who had continued to tell her story, and Luke threw me a glare. Rolling my eyes, I scooted closer to Chase, who smiled and took my hand in his, held together on his leg under the table. Despite everything I knew, I didn't want him to let go. What was happening to me? I couldn't be feeling this about a werewolf, let alone an alpha, especially one that I'm using as leverage to keep my secret identity exactly what it is, a secret. The bell rang and Chase slowly released my hand, standing up and grabbing his tray to throw away the food, and I followed suit, trying to brush off the sudden empty feeling I was flooded with. Suddenly, Luke's words from the woods flooded in. "Chase is going to be heartbroken. Artemis is his mate." Of all people. Curious, I decided to skip the rest of the day, and I sped fully empty yellow house and ran into the basement, pushing past all of the weapons and to a large stack of dusty books and journals. Sighing, I cracked my neck before beginning to look through them, searching for anything about a mate. I've vaguely heard of them, but with what Luke said, would that mean that mates are real? Like actual destinies and soulmates? Finally, in the 5th book I opened and flipped through, a page caught my eye. Soulmate, mate. A person with whom you have an immediate connection the moment you meet, a connection so strong that you are drawn to them in a way you have never experienced before. As this connection develops over time, you experience a love so deep, strong and complex, that you begin to doubt that you have ever truly loved anyone prior. Your soulmate understands and connects with you in every way and on every level, which brings a sense of peace, calmness, and happiness when you are around them. Then when you are not around them, you are all that much more aware of the harshness of life, and how bonding with another person in this way is the most significant and satisfying and you will experience in your lifetime. The werewolves. Mates are discovered when eye contact is made, only when both partners of the relationship are of age 17 years or older. If one partner dies once mating is completed, the other will most likely follow from literal heartbreak, madness, or suicide. A mate is the most powerful drive and motivation to a werewolf. Letting out a deep breath as I finished the page, I swore. Luke had said Chase and I were mates. That meant that he is literally the only one made for me. Questions swirled around my head, dizzying me and ice down. Would killing him kill me, as it said it would? How do you complete the mating process? Is there a way to get out of it? The most important struck me, and I stared across the wall as I asked myself it. Do I want to end it? Shaking my head, I slammed the book shut. Of course I want to end it. HES and Alpha fork's sake. Sighing, I began to walk back upstairs, but jumped when my phone beeped. Jesus Christ. I shook my head, scolding myself for being so paranoid. Pulling out my phone, I opened the text from none other than Chase. You okay? I responded saying that I was fine and I just didn't feel up for staying at school the rest of the day. Oh, well, are we still on for tonight? Then, it's okay if you don't want to. Telling him to not be silly and that of course we were still on. He responded with a smiley face and I sighed, making my way up to my bathroom, stripping the sweatshirt and sweatpants from my body and peeling the bandage off of my leg. Luke's scratch was deep and still bleeding. Sighing, I cleaned it out again. Despite the constant stinging, and Ray wrapped it, gingerly sliding on a pair of black jeans. I threw on a red and black flannel, pairing it with black Converse. I left my hair down in curls and added a bit of dark pink lip gloss. Don't ask me why I felt the need to look good for him, because I don't know that myself. I suppose I could blame it on the mate bond, but deep down I knew that wasn't one true. Picking up my bag, I slung it over my shoulder and froze when I stood up to see Luke standing in front of me, in my room, holding my red switchblade in his hand, twisting it, the blade digging into his finger. He pulled it back and licked the blood off. Sharp. I'd be careful with this if I were you. Get out of my house. I grit out and he smiled. Gladly. He responded. It reeks of silver in here. Just thought you might want this back. Assuming, of course, you don't use it on Chase. He crept up behind me and placed his lips right next to my ear. Do keep our deal in mind, would you? In a second he was gone and the window wide open, a hot breeze blowing in. Puffing, I walked over and slammed it shut, looking at the blade sitting on my dresser. My doorbell ringing. I looked in the mirror in front of me, throwing the blade in the top drawer and running down the steps, throwing the front door open, revealing Chase, a sweet smile playing at his lips. Hey, you look amazing. Smiling and blushing. I laughed. Thanks. He offered me his arm. Ready. I nodded, taking his arm and letting him lead me to his car. All the while Luke's threat floating through my mind. Chapter 20. To the entire evening was going perfectly. Haley had loved the picnic I had planned for her in the little greenhouse on the edge of the territory. I loved it too. Especially when she somehow got spaghetti sauce on her nose by slurping up the noodle and it flipping up and hitting her. She had gotten so embarrassed that her normally pale skin had turned fire truck red. It was adorable. Now we were sipping champagne while stargazing, leaning back on our hands. And there's the Big Dipper. I pointed up, and she scrunched up her nose. Sighing, she shook her head. I still don't see any constellations. How does anyone even make pictures out of them? They're just dots in the sky. Chuckling, I took a sip of the champagne. It's a werewolf thing. Be able to make out pictures from dots billions of miles away is a werewolf thing, she asked, quirking an eyebrow. I smiled. No, but stars are. You remember how I told you about Selene, or Luna is the goddess of the moon? Werewolves were born under a full moon and a sky full of bright, shining stars. Astronomy is important to us. I thought you only cared about the moon. and the stars were just whatever. She replied, looking down. The moon is beautiful. It's a constant. You know. It keeps us human. Keeps us anchored. It controls the tides and ourselves alike. It sort of means everything to me. I stared up at the glowing white orb in the black sky. Looking at her as she stared up to the moon, I spoke again. Haley? Yeah. She murmured, staring up at the canvas above us. You're my moon. Despite the dark setting, I could see her blushing furiously and she looked down. I reached over and gently turned her to face me. Her eyes shimmered in the moonlight and her cheeks were flushed, bringing my head down to hers. Our lips brushed lightly for a few seconds before her arms wrapped around my neck, pulling me down closer to her, fully pressing our lips together. Sparks flew and everything with her felt brighter than the stars and moon above. She laid down on the blanket and I went with her, our lips never separating as we did so. Eventually, we broke apart for a breath and looked at each other, smiling widely. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Nothing but Haley and I, and the way her lips felt on mine and the way she fit perfectly under me. Wow, she breathed, cupping my face in her hands. I brushed her lip with my thumb and she grinned. We could go back to my house if you want. I nodded and whispered, okay, scooping her up in my arms bridal style. She squealed and laughed. Chase, put me down. All right. I agreed, setting her down in the passenger seat and driving towards her house, holding her hand the whole time. On the way, she hummed along to the songs that played on the radio until we arrived to her yellow house, before giving her a chance to get out on her own. I ran over and opened the door for her. She stepped out, and as I closed the car door, I leaned in, kissing her. She smiled, wrapping her arms around my neck again, and so I lifted her up, walking into the house, which was thankfully unlocked, or else that would have been a total mood killer. She wiggled her way out of my arms and led me up to her room, pulling me along with her by grabbing me hand. Let me tell you, seeing her like that, biting her lip and her a little messy, was such a damn turn on. We made it to her room and she pushed me onto her bed, laughing as she sat on my lap, pressing her lips on mine. Yeah, definitely a turn on. After a solid 20 minutes of making out, we were both without shirts and she whispered, hang on a few minutes. He'll be right back. She went into her bathroom, closing the door behind her but not before turning back to look at me, smiling while biting her lip. Sitting on the edge of her bed, I smiled, rubbing the back of my neck and looking at my reflection in the mirror above her dresser. My hair was tossed in every direction, lips red and a bit plump from all of the kissing. A shimmery glint suddenly caught my eye. I stood up, looking in the drawer and pulling out a red switchblade. I remembered it clearly from when Haley had managed to fight off that rogue the night of the dance. Sliding the blade out, I saw there was still blood on it. I narrowed my eyes at it. The rogue that dared attack my mate. Sniffing it. I froze when I realized that it was the scent of the rogue's blood at all. However, I did still recognize it. It was Luke's blood. A vision of Luke holding it, talking about how Artemis had thrown it into his chest last night, came back to me and my breathing deepened. This blade was Haley's. She had used it against the rogue, but it was also Artemis. Chess used it to try and kill Luke. Luke didn't want him on this date with Haley. The door opened and Haley walked in smiling, only for it to drop as she saw the blade in my hand and the look on my face. Haley is Artemis. Chapter 23. Haley fuck. He found the blade, and with the look 𝐻ES giving me right now, I know the 𝐻ES figured it out. He knows an 𝐻ES pissed. Haley? He choked out, his voice strained. What the fuck is this? Please tell me it's not what I think. Please. It killed me to see him like that, so distraught and broken up about it. Biting my lip, I sighed before finally speaking, my voice coming out in a soft whisper. I'm sorry. I can't tell you that, because I don't want to lie to you. He slammed the blade down in the dresser and I jumped at the sound. You've got to be kidding me. I thought you were perfect. Haley, god damn it. And I thought you were genuinely just handling my whole werewolf secret so well. He rubbed his jaw with his hand. Just tell me one thing. Was all of it an act just to get close to me? I surprised myself when I told him the truth. No, not all of it. At first it was, but then I couldn't help but feel attracted to you. And believe me, that scared me shitless, considering how much I despise your kind. Yeah, well, detail. He's that. Hunters killed my parents. Werewolves killed mine, I retorted, hot tears beginning to form in my eyes, right in front of my eyes. Do you know what it's like to be a 14-year-old girl who doesn't even know about the existence of werewolves and have to watch them rip your parents to shreds? Chase shook his head and walked over to the wall, slamming his fist against it. I don't have to. You're psychotic. Haley, you literally go around killing hundreds of people. Werewolves. I corrected him. I kill werewolves. He looked at me with wild eyes. Are you saying we're not people? Then, you're monsters. I bit, a tear finally breaking free and falling down my face. He broke then, coming at me. He slammed me into the wall, hitting my arms down to my sides. Oh, sweetheart, you haven't even come close to seeing the monster within me yet. Bringing up my knee to his groin, he stumbled back and cupped the area. I took the moment to pull the red blade out of the wood of the dresser and held it out in front of me in defense. Back the hell away. When he looked back up, his eyes were practically black and I knew he was pissed. He spoke lowly and at a slow pace. His head turned slightly to the side. What's wrong, darling? Am I scaring you? Am I ruining our perfect little evening together? Because last time I checked, you're the only murderer here. Like you haven't killed anyone before. I scoffed. Only 4. And they were all trespassing rogues. He responded, tilting his head. You know, I really should have known that you were a hunter. I mean, after that rogue incident at the dance. No human just randomly carries around a pure silver switchblade and happens to perfectly throw it so it pierces the wolf's heart. I smiled bitterly. Funny how the only one to actually put that together was Luke. For a moment. If only for a second. Chase faltered. Luke. He knew. Of course. He nearly killed me last night. I responded, remembering our run in the woods. But of course, in me and I still managed to take him down and blackmail him. So there really was no way he could have warned you. Don't be too upset with him. He scowled. I should kill you. Laughing humorlessly, I threw my head back before looking back at him and pointing with the blade. Except you won't, because I'm your mate. Chase stiffened and I took it as my chance to circle him. I paused behind him, placing the flat side of the blade on his shoulder. You know, you should be honored I like you so much. Normally, you'd all be dead by now. He growled and pushed me away, his claws and canines coming out. I had finally broken him. Smirking, I egged him on. Do you want to hurt me for hurting your pack? I know you do. Come on, baby. Come on. He lunged and I dodged, slashing his side with the blade, and he yelled out in agony. Damn, why am I feeling bad about that? Stupid bullshit werewolf mate bond thing. It's honestly ruining everything right now. I was lying when I had said that normally he'd be dead by now. Ignoring my thoughts, I took my turn to attack him and landed a punch on his jaw. But my second attempt was blocked and I stumbled back into the hallway. Charging at me, he reacted to slowly when I sighed, stepped and he tumbled down the stairs, skipping down them. I kicked him and he rolled over, grabbing my leg and pulling me down with him. And with me being the ever so graceful woman I am, smacked my face on the tile. I could taste blood in my mouth and I spit it out, spraying some of it on his face. I then took the chance to elbow him in the nose and it started gushing blood. Maybe I broke it. Getting up to run into the kitchen, he grabbed my ankle, tripping me up and causing me to fall. The corner of the table catching my cheek on the way down, and I cursed as the pain hit me. I wiped some of the blood off with my hand and got back up to face him, who was already standing back up. His eyes were lighter than before, but he still looked angry. Yelling, I ran at him, throwing punches left and right, but they were all blocked by him with ease. When he grew tired of blocking them, he pushed me up against a wall again, holding my wrists above my shoulders. I screamed at him, Fight back, you bastard. I can't. He roared, before a defeated expression came over his face. He looked me in the eyes with sincerity. I could never handle the guilt of knowing I hurt you. With that, he let go of me and walked out the front door, slamming it behind him, sliding down the wall. I rested my head in my hands before sobbing. What a disaster. Chapter 24. I paused outside the door I had just slammed behind me. She was crying and bleeding at it was all because of me. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Why the hell did she have to be a goddamn hunter? Let alone the deadliest of all. My wolf had been quiet for the whole night and I knew why. He didn't want to piss me off anymore and be totally on 𝐊𝐢𝐬's side. She's my mate and I can't help but love her. Like I said, she's my moon. It just kills me that she's also the reason I've lost some appreciation for the actual moon. Letting out a breath, I walked over to the car and sped home, throwing open the door and immediately finding Luke, who was standing in the kitchen, grabbing him by the throat. I slammed him into the fridge. You fucking knew and didn't tell me. I roared. He gasped for air. I am so sorry. 𝐼𝐴 tried to tell you, letting up a little bit. I snarled. Oh yeah, tell me, when did you try to let me know that 𝐊𝐢𝐬? My mate is Artemis. What? A feminine voice responded and I looked over to see Lily standing in the doorway in shock. 𝐊𝐢𝐬, sweet, innocent little 𝐊𝐢𝐬, is Artemis. Releasing Luke altogether, he dropped to the floor, rubbing his neck in pain. I tried to warn you last night. I even showed you the blade. Maybe next time you could just tell me. I snapped and he bowed his head, knowing full well that right now he's a member of my pack, and not my best friend. Lily ignored everything and walked up to me, frowning. You're bleeding. It was a question. 𝐿𝐢𝐧𝐼, courtesy of none other than 𝐊𝐢𝐼. She shook her head in disbelief, hurt evident in her eyes. I don't understand. I've spent so much time with her and never did I expect. Well, she just seems too innocent and frail. Snorting, I rolled my eyes. Believe me, she's anything but frail. Thinking back to our little incursion, I couldn't help but feel guilty for the times I had her pinned up against a wall and for tripping her up, making her fall and cut her face on the counter. Then again, she made me fall down the stairs. Luke pulled himself up, looking me in the eye and seeing that I was cooled off a little. He spoke. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but she threatened to kill you if I did. I nodded in understanding. But well, what are you gonna do? He asked and I sat down on the stool next to the counter. What do you mean? Luke sighed. Little witch. Luke sighed. Well, are you going to reject her? No, Lily cut in before I could respond. He will absolutely not reject her. She is his mate and he loves her. Imperfections and all. He scoffed. You call her being a murderous hunter an imperfection? Yes, she stated firmly, folding her arms across her chest. Can you please stop deciding what I'm going to do about my mate? I'm right here, you know. I stated, annoyed. Lily sat down on the stool next to me and looked into my eyes. You can't reject her. It just isn't right. I mean, I know that she's hurt people and you, but there's gotta be a reason for it, right? So maybe you two can just talk and work it out. Get her to stop killing wolves or let her at the rogues. Just come to some sort of a compromise together. Together like mates are supposed to be. I sighed. Lil, I don't know if 𝐊𝐢𝐬 and I would even work together anymore. Exactly. Luke cut in. I mean, she's killed how many of us? But then again, I started. She's absolutely perfect. Lily smiled before leaning back. I think you have your answer. Then 𝐿𝐢𝐳, big brother. I looked down at my bloodied hands in front of me and sighed, nodding. She has killed so many of my pack members, completely affed other packs, and is a murdering lunatic. And yet, I love her as she is, as my mate, and so I could never reject, leave, hurt or kill her because she is my mate. And I would never be able to survive without her now that I've found her. I can't lose her, I say simply instead. And Lily smiles supportively. Luke just nods stiffly in understanding. I think 𝐴𝐺's a little bitter towards her. What with the ambush gone awry in the woods and the whole blackmailing and threatening thing. I guess 𝐻ED have to get over it though, because she will be his Luna someday. At that thought, I laughed out loud. What's so funny? Luke questioned. I shook my head laughing. It's just that. Our pack is going to have the one hunter who's been killing us all off as our Luna someday. He furrowed his brows. I still don't get how that's funny. It's not funny, I retorted. Just ironic, I guess. Sighing, I slipped off the stool and made my way up and into my shower, just trying to get everything off of me. The pain, guilt, anger, and frustration. I knew that I had a lengthy road ahead of me to make things right and good with Haley, but at least I know I have a chance. Her face when she saw that I had figured it out meant something. The fact that she cried after I left. She cares, and that right there is enough to give me hope. It gives me hope that maybe she cares for me enough to work through this and to come to a solution. And just maybe we'll find a mutual happiness together. Or that nagging little voice in the back of my head popped up. She could just kill everyone and be done with it. Chapter 25 Haley. It had probably been an hour since Chase stormed out. And here I was still sitting against the wall with my head in my hands and tears streaming down my cheeks. I was actually pretty sure I was sitting in a puddle at the moment, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I shouldn't feel this emotionally wrecked over a werewolf, but here I am, crying over the fact that he left, and I felt so very alone. Thinking about it again, more sobs racked my body and fresh tears began to spill over. I cried so loud I hadn't heard the door open, or the footsteps coming towards me, until I looked up and saw a pair of black boots in front of me. Looking up, I found a scowling, agitating face. "What do you want?" I asked in between sniffles. Joel tilted his head to the side. "Can't I just visit my favorite huntress friend?" "No, I bit. Because we hate each other." He shrugged and sat down in the hallway across from me. "Fair enough. In 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐩𝐿, the boss wants me here to help you finish up the job." I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, that's not gonna happen." "And why is that?" he questioned in a challenging tone, raising an eyebrow, biting my lip. I stayed silent. What the hell was I supposed to say now? Sorry? I can't kill the rest of this pack with you because I kind of love the leader. Yeah, like that did go over well. Instead, I asked a question. "You said the boss wants you here. Did you meet him?" "No," he answered, shrugging coolly. "Michael relayed the message for me. He seemed really off about it. My subject change. By the way, I try." I threw him a fake, sarcastic smile. He sighed and stood up, picking up the large duffel bag beside him that I hadn't noticed before. "Well, anyways, it doesn't matter what you say is or isn't going to happen, because I'm all set to start going to school with you tomorrow. My dear cousin, how exciting is that? We're not going to school." I shot at him, standing up and making my way upstairs. I was halfway up then when he called out, "Why the hell not?" "Because my cover was blown," I replied quietly, but I knew he heard me from his stunned silence. Finishing my way up the steps, I made my way into my room. I stared at the bed first, with the blankets and pillows all in disarray. Sighing, I looked to my right at the vanity and the hole in it from where Chase stabbed the blade in it. Running my fingers across it, I straight ear fell and landed next to it. Sighing, I wiped it away and walked over to the window, crawling out of it and up onto the roof. Sure, I could easily die if I fell and landed on my head or neck, but there wasn't much fear in me at all. I've never been one who was frightened easily. And this was no exception. If I fell, I fell. I'm sure it would be easier that way. Then I wouldn't have to deal with all of the repercussions that were sure to come my way. 𝐻𝐤𝐬𝐻𝐬 window, the one next to mine, must have been open as I heard him talking. No, sir, oh, sir. Listen, her cover's been blown-eyed. I don't know what you want me to, yes. I understand that. I'm not willing to risk our lives if we know it's a losing battle. No, listen. All I'm saying is we need more backup. You know what and who we're going up against. There was a long pause before he sighed. And I get that. Believe me. But another sigh. We just need a few more hunters to finish off the job. All right. Fine. You're the boss. I assumed he had hung up. As I heard him groan and I looked up to the half-full moon, a little higher in the sky than it was before when I was on my date with Chase. Oh, how drastically this night has changed. At the beginning, I was having a perfect evening with the perfect guy, and now I've found myself crying on my roof because that perfect guy found out my not so perfect secret. David's car pulled into the driveway and I watched as he hopped out nonchalantly, even whistling as he made his way inside. Boy, was that about to change as soon as Joel tells him what I did. What I did. Of course. This whole big mess would be my fault. I couldn't keep my emotions separate from the job. And now I paid the price of Chase knowing I am 𝐊𝐤𝐳, the hunter who has been terrorizing his pack and killing his pack slowly for the past couple months or so. I don't know why I'm still holding out the slightest bit of hope for him. What I did is unforgivable. I wouldn't even forgive myself for this. I guess it's like what he told me. He couldn't handle the guilt knowing he hurt me. Right now, I can't stand the fact knowing how badly I've hurt him, physically and emotionally. I killed his pack members, crushing his spirit, and then I literally crushed his nose when I broke it. Taking in a shaky breath, it hitched when I heard shouting from within the house. I guess Joel told David everything. The sound of a door being thrown open made me jump and David yelled, "Haley! Haley, where the fuck are you?" I guess it was my bedroom door he threw open. He yelled again, "Where is she?" "I don't know. I don't know. I saw her walk in here," Joel exclaimed. David scoffed before speaking bitterly. "Well, this is just perfect. Not only can I not get her to keep her cover, I can't even keep track of her. Awesome." Laying back on the roof instead of sitting, I continued to stare up at the pale moon. I could see why werewolves would worship it. It really is sort of stunning. Sighing, I closed my eyes and listened to the sounds of nature. The leaves rustling in the breeze, crickets chirping, and the sound of the wind blowing by. Maybe the wind could just blow me away. Chapter 26. It's been 2 full days without any communication from Haley of any sorts. By now, the whole pack knows that Haley is 𝐊𝐿𝐷, yet they also know that she is my mate, their future Luna, and so we can do nothing to her. The killings have stopped, though, despite what my men say about another man, most likely a hunter, staying at Haley's house, which I am not jealous about at all. Nope, not one bit. Maybe pulling myself out of bed on Monday morning, I went through my usual morning routine and threw on a t-shirt and jeans before making my way downstairs past Lillian into my car, making my way to school. I looked around the parking lot for her car, but couldn't find it. Frowning, I made my way into the building, trying to sniff her out but finding nothing other than the stale scent at her locker. "She's not here." "Not yet." My wolf spoke softly, but I knew that was just wishful thinking. She was coming. I knew that better than anyone. Lily came up behind me, an angry expression on her face. "Thanks for waiting for me to leave." Asshole. I had to catch a ride with dickwad Luke, who was standing right next to her, rolled his eyes. "Oh, come on, princess. Just be grateful I gave you a ride at all. I could have made you walk." She narrowed her eyes at him. "I will fight you. I'd like to see you try." He spoke lowly, and they were inches apart, glaring into each other's eyes. I rolled mine. "As much as the sexual tension between you two fascinates me, I actually couldn't care less how you got to school. So if you'll excuse me, I have somewhere to be. As I made my way out of the school, I could hear Lily huff, sexual tension my ass, and Luke with an awkward, yeah, no leaving my car. I ran through the woods aimlessly for a while, running past some members on patrol and other just out for a leisurely run. They were all, for the most part at least, in wolf form. I stayed in human form, running through the trees and around or over bushes and shrubs. Eventually, I found myself stopping short at the edge of the woods in front of the backyard of a quaint yellow house, 𝐊𝐢𝐬's house. And speak of the devil, 𝐊𝐢 herself was outside in the backyard with a guy I didn't recognize. They were sparring with their own daggers. The guy's a little longer than 𝐊𝐢𝐬's. You know, I think you've gotten worse, he panted as they circled each other, sweat dripping down his chest. I nearly growled at 𝐊𝐢 being with another guy who was not wearing a shirt. She narrowed her eyes at him. Shut up. Go. With that, she lunged at him and he only just blocked her blow aimed at his neck. Pushing her back with the force, she remained standing, and jumped back from his attempted slice at her abdomen. With a shout, she struck, knocking his blade out of his hand, and it clattered on the patio next to the back door. She kicked his legs out from under him and sat with her knee digging into his chest. Knife at his throat. Yield, he choked out, and with a smirk she stood up, beads of sweat covering her face. They both chugged some water before donning a pair of leather gloves that covered the knuckles. The guy, Doe, smirked. You know, hand-to-hand combat has never been your strong suit. That's okay. She smiled bitterly. My worst is still better than your best. He dropped the smug expression and scowled, shouting as he lunged, swinging at her face. I jumped, ready to spring into action, but kept myself at bay as I saw her deflect it. They continued in that manner for a couple minutes, Joel attacking and 𝐊𝐢 blocking with ease. With an attempted punch to the face, 𝐊𝐢 ducked and punched Joel in the stomach, hard. Even I would have had to double over in pain at that. He wheezed as he knelt on one knee in front of her. Yelling, she pushed herself off of the ground with one leg and spun, kicking him right in the chest and knocking him to his back. She took a step back, waiting. Give up yet? Standing up slowly. He glared. Not a chance. Shame, she replied, running at him with her fists raised. He blocked the first 2 punches, but the third landed on his cheek and he stumbled back. 𝐊𝐢 roundhouse kicked him and he somehow managed to stay on his feet and charged at her, landing a punch on her jaw. It took everything in my not to growl and jump out and kill him. I could feel the ache of her pain on my own jaw. It was a hard hit. She then attacked with rapid punches to his face, all of which he blocked with his forearms. Noticing this, 𝐊𝐢 grabbed his shoulder and bent him down, bringing her knee up to his abdomen, and shoving him to the ground, and he struggled to catch his breath. And yet, he still staggered back to his feet, glaring at her. Bitch, right back at ya. She grunted before landing a punch to his nose. I heard a slight crack and looked on as his nose bled with what felt like pride. He sat down and tilted his head back, pinching his nose. I yield. Of course you do. She grinned, but winced a little and rubbed her jaw. The redness was starting to deepen to a purple. Son of a bitch bruised her, but she broke his nose. My wolf purred and I nodded. I couldn't help but agree that she was very impressive. Joel made his way back inside and 𝐊𝐢 stayed outside, kicking up her dagger off of the patio table. She spun around to face the woods and ice where she was looking right at me. She sighed before walking forward and into the woods, coming face to face with me. Enjoy the show. How did you? She cut me off, finishing my sentence for me. No, you were here. You're a heavy breather. Also, I could sense you, she responded, nonchalantly. I furrowed my brows. Sense me. She nodded. I assume it's something to do with the weird mate bond thing. Nodding, I agreed. Made sense. Frowning, she sighed. If Joel sees you, I'll kill you. Isn't that what you wanted? I bit a little too harshly. Her frown deepened and she looked up at me. Her eyes screamed sorry. Oh, not anymore. not knowing what to do anymore. I just turned around and walked back into the woods, leaving her there. She changed. She doesn't want to kill anymore. And it was for me, quickening my pace to a jog and then a full-on sprint. I let my werewolf out and shifted, running through the territory as fast as I could, with no clear destination in mind. I just needed to run. Chapter 27. 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐠 was everywhere. He invaded my thoughts and my dreams. The haunting image of his heartbroken face was in front of me every time I closed my eyes, every time I blinked. It was driving me crazy, especially after this morning, when he had been watching Joel and I sparring. We had a somewhat civilized conversation, at least until he just turned and walked away without another word. I thought about what I said, not wanting to hurt any more of his pack. It was true. I had lost all motivation to hunt anymore. At least, not here. Not his people. People. They were people. After all, just like me. Like Joel and David. They were humans partially. The only difference being they could turn into a large, vicious, man-eating werewolf. Or they could turn into generally harmless who only want to protect each other. Despite my training, I felt as though the latter was the truth. The doorbell rang and I shook myself out of my thoughts, pulling myself off from the couch into the front door, pulling it open, revealing a group of 5 men, all with large duffel bags slung on their shoulder. I drew my eyebrows together in confusion. "Can I help you?" 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷, the man in the front asked. I nodded my head and I smiled, holding out his hand, which I shook skeptically. "My name is Curtis Lee. This is Brandon. Will, Dennis and Matt. We're heroes back up." "Back up for what?" I questioned, leaning against the doorframe, keeping it as closed as possible. The vibe they gave off made me not want to trust them at all. Curtis continued to smile, although I could tell it was incredibly fake. "The boss sent us to help you. David and Joel finished the mission here. Since your covers were blown, we are bringing in a team to wrap up the job. Can't leave any witnesses. You know that. I wasn't aware we needed any assistance." I chose my words carefully as I gritted out the sentence through my teeth. Finally, his smile dropped. "Clearly you weren't aware of a lot if you managed to blow your cover." Scowling, I retorted. "Clearly you aren't aware of what I'm capable of." "I know exactly what you're capable of," he snapped. "And I know you won't be able to take the 5 of us all at once." My eye twitched in irritation, but I stayed strong. "I'm sure I could. Would you like to test out that theory?" Curtis challenged, raising an eyebrow as he looked down at me. The 5 of them were all fairly massive, although their size could easily be turned into a weakness if I used my speed, and the 4 men in the back looked rather uncomfortable with their leader's words, and I knew they were hesitant to fight a teenage girl. I mentally added that to their weaknesses list. Suddenly, Joel appeared behind me and pulled the door open. I'm sure she would love to, but unfortunately for her, you guys will be coming inside now. He shoved me out of the way, allowing Curtis, Brandon, Will, Dennis and Matt to come inside, Curtis glaring at me as he did so. I returned a glower of my own gladly. "Bastard." Turning to Joel, I hissed, "What the hell?" "I could say the same to you," trying to deny the backup I called for. He whisper-yelled, leaning back. I coughed. "You called for backup?" Joel nodded. "Yeah, we need to get this job done, and I won't let you stop us from doing that. More hunters will be coming in throughout the next few days. Try not to pick any more fights with me much larger than you. They won't be afraid to pummel you to a pulp. I'd like to see them try." I growled before storming upstairs and slamming my door and locking it behind me. Pacing around my room, I ran a hand through my hair. Shit. The boss really wants this pack dead. And I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't watch as the people I've begun to care about, werewolf or not, are murdered mercilessly by my fellow hunters. But then, I couldn't betray the vow I took when I began hunting, to honor my brothers of the hunt. Swearing, I flopped down on my bed, staring at the ceiling fan as I spun in a slow circle. Spinning, 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 pulling myself up. I slipped on some shoes before pulling my window open, crawling back onto the roof, my hiding spot. The sun was getting low now, starting to set, leaving the sky pink and purple in color, with some streaks of orange painting the picture. Looking down, I let out a deep breath at the drop. Scooting to the edge, I quickly spun myself around and grabbed onto the edge with my hands, decreasing the distance of the drop if only a little bit. Counting to 3, I gave myself a split second of courage and let go. Dropping to the ground, I bent my knees on impact, but my feet still stung at the impact as my feet hit the mulch. Staying low, I crept past the window so as no one inside would see me, making my way to the street. I froze as I saw headlights heading towards me. Shit, I exclaimed, before dropping down and crouching behind a bush. The car pulled into the driveway and David stepped out, carrying a bag of takeout inside, not even sparing a glance in my direction. When he entered the house, I let out a breath of relief and took off sprinting down the street, slowing to a fast jog as I made my way to my destination. I never realized how far away it was before, mostly because I've only been there when I was driving. Running up to the door, I was panting and out of breath, but that didn't faze me as I pounded on the door incessantly until it opened, revealing the exact person I wanted to see. His eyebrows furrowed together. "Haley, what happened? What's wrong?" "More hunters," I managed to say in between breaths. "They're bringing in more hunters to completely wipe you guys out." Chase looked down, processing the information before looking back up at me. "I think you should come inside." Nodding, I followed him inside, a sudden nervousness building up inside my stomach. What the hell was I thinking?